Okay guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we're going to talk about the theme of loneliness in the text Eclipsed and also in the film Brooklyn. So, what is theme? Well, theme is the main idea or message in a text. So we'll start off by talking about Eclipsed. So, the first text I studied for the comparative study is the drama Eclipsed, written by Patricia Burke Brogan. You must say the name of your text and who wrote it. Brief description: it takes place in St. Paul's Home for Penitent Women, part of the Magdalen Laundries in Ireland. And then tell your examiner what your chosen theme is. The theme I chose is loneliness. Mandy, Nellie, Nora, Bridget and Kathy are all unmarried mothers. That is the reason why they were signed in to St. Paul's Home for Penitent Women. They are locked away from society. They are forced to work without pay in a laundry under the strict supervision of Mother Victoria. They are not allowed to leave the laundry and are treated like slaves and prisoners. They were very lonely in there. So let's look at some key moments connected to our theme. Well, the first one is the girls were separated from their babies. The key moments here are: the major causes of loneliness is the fact that the girls are separated from their babies and children. They were forced to give up their babies for adoption, even though they wanted to keep them and raise them themselves. The system was too powerful for them to overcome. Bridget's baby Rosa was given away for adoption, and Bridget was locked away in the laundry, devastated. Kathy's 6-year-old twin girls, Emily and Michelle, are in an orphanage run by nuns. She is never given permission to visit them. She longs to see them, and that is why she makes so many attempts to escape. Okay, so another cause of loneliness is the girls were separated from their families, and some key moments. The girls are also lonely because they are separated from their families and their hometowns. They were rejected by the men that made them pregnant. They were signed in because they were seen as a disgrace on their families and their hometowns because of their behaviour. Nellie Nora never gets letters from her family and appears to have been totally abandoned by them. At the end of the play, we see Nellie Nora is the only one still living in the home for penitent women, even though she was free to go. She has become institutionalized and is afraid of the outside world. As punishment, Mother Victoria doesn't allow Sister Virginia to see her brother, who is saying Mass in the convent. Sister Virginia pleads to be allowed to see her brother. "I must speak to him. I must speak." But she is ordered to return to the laundry. She now experiences the loneliness that the girls are forced to endure. Okay, so another cause of loneliness is that the girls were abandoned by their boyfriends. And here is a key moment. Mandy had a boyfriend called Richard. He used to take Mandy home from the dance in his shiny red car. "We always folded down the seats in the back," she tells the girls. Sadly, when she told him she was pregnant, he never spoke to her again. She only saw him once in the distance after that. Another cause of loneliness, or a way of dealing with loneliness, is that the girls use fantasy to deal with it. And some key moments are: Mandy was signed into the laundry. Her baby boy was born premature and stillborn. She copes with her loneliness by pretending that Elvis loves her and that he will come and take her away someday. The other girls support her in this fantasy and even hold a mock wedding with a mannequin playing the part of Elvis. Nellie Nora tries to read the future in the women's teacups. She plays this game to cheer them up from their loneliness. Bridget is too upset to play the game. No, just tell me that I will find my baby. Rosa finds an old photograph of a baby. Written on the photograph is "My baby Rosa, my beautiful baby." However, Nellie Nora explains that the picture is just a photograph she found in an unwashed pocket. Bridget adopted that paper baby. She let on it was you. So great was Bridget's grief and loneliness for her baby that she pretended a picture she found was of her baby. This is terribly sad. All the girls in the laundry tried to cope with their own loneliness in various ways. They occasionally try to have a little fun amongst themselves to relieve their loneliness and their distress. They dress the mannequin up as the bishop and playfully mock him. The girls try their best to celebrate Kathy's birthday at their tea break by giving her little tokens as gifts. Mandy suggests they pretend they are in Paris having a huge party for Kathy. Mandy tells her to close her eyes and pretend. "It will be true if you pretend," she remarks. This is how Mandy copes. She pretends things are true. Loneliness affects their mental health. Key moments. When Kathy dies and Mandy no longer believes that Elvis will come and rescue her, she goes insane. Mandy breaks down in tears and Nellie Nora tries to cheer her up by giving her the Elvis scrapbook, saying, "Elvis will send you another photo. He will write to you. He will." Mandy changes her tone of voice. "No, he won't. I know he won't. I know he won't." Mandy then throws the scrapbook on the floor, saying, "My only chance is to do what Kathy did." We learn that Mandy has not left the local mental institution since 1963. Her loneliness must have caused her to lose her mind. Loneliness can lead to death. Key moments. Kathy would love to visit her twin daughters who are in an orphanage run by the nuns. She asks Sister Virginia if she's ever going to be a mother to them. Nellie Nora tells Juliet that Kathy is worn out, her heart's broken. Kathy makes several attempts to escape but gets caught. In the end, she dies of suffocation and an asthma attack, trying to escape in a laundry basket. Kathy's loneliness and desperation drove her to her death. Letters help with loneliness. Key moments. Another scene that shows loneliness is when the girls receive letters from the outside world. Nellie Nora is not surprised when there is no letter for her. She tells Sister Virginia, "If I got a letter now, I'd die of shock." Bridget finds out in a letter that John Joe, the father of her child, is about to get married, and she thinks he does not know about their child. She would love to get out and tell him, but she can't. This is lonely for her. Kathy got a card from her twins signed, "To Mammy on her birthday. Love, Michelle and Emily." She was so lonely being separated from her babies, she could not even get permission to visit them. Loneliness can lead to violence. Key moments. Driven by her loneliness and her longing to find her baby Rosa, Bridget becomes ever more frustrated and aggressive. "The keys, pasty face! Give me the keys!" Bridget gets even more agitated and attacks Sister Virginia, dragging off her veil and throwing her to the ground. Warning: do not try to memorize all this answer. You do not need to use all these key moments. Read the question carefully. Sometimes you only need one. We are now going to look at the key moments of loneliness in Brooklyn. So we introduce our second question. The second text I studied for my comparative course is the film Brooklyn, directed by John Crowley. It takes place in Ireland and Brooklyn in the 1950s. The theme I chose is loneliness. So, looking after parents leads to loneliness. There were not many opportunities back then for young people in Ireland. Eilish is working for Miss Kelly, a snobbish, mean woman who owns a shop in the town. The first hint of loneliness in the film is when nasty Miss Kelly reminds Eilish that she's leaving her sister Rose with the responsibility of looking after her mother. "Mothers are always being left behind in this country," Miss Kelly cruelly says, and goes on to say it's the end of Rose's life because she will be looking after her mother for the rest of her life. Immigration leads to loneliness. In the next scene, we see Eilish and Rose having dinner with their mother. The atmosphere is awkward as they discuss Eilish's departure and her new life in America. This causes all three of them to realise that Eilish will be gone for good. There is a moment of silence as the mother and daughters come to realise the sad change that is about to take place in their little family when Eilish leaves forever. As Rose helps Eilish to pack her suitcase, she tells her sister that she must go to America because she cannot buy her a future in Ireland. "I can't buy you the kind of life you need." Eilish knows that there will be a lot of loneliness ahead of her and asks if they will meet again. "You'll come and see me sometime," Eilish asked her sister. "And I'll come home to visit you, won't I?" she cries. The scene at the docks where all the parents are waving goodbye to their sons and daughters as they leave for America is a very moving scene. Eilish's mother turns away in grief. The journey to America on the ship is a horrible experience for Eilish. She is all alone. She is very innocent and inexperienced when she eats a meal alone on board. She asks Georgina, "How long do letters from Ireland take to arrive?" Georgina's answer reveals her own experience of loneliness when she first immigrated. "They take a long time at first, then no time at all," Georgina replies. Loneliness leads to homesickness. Eilish experiences severe loneliness and isolation and suffers greatly from the pains of homesickness in the weeks and months after she arrives in New York. She is not prepared for the life of the huge city. She tries to fit into the routine at the boarding house she shares with the other Irish girl lodgers, but finds it difficult to make small talk at mealtimes. She tries to settle into her job at Bartocci's department store, but her sadness and loneliness prevents her from being cheerful with the customers. Her supervisor tells her to be more friendly with the customers, but Eilish is obviously struggling. Treat every customer like a new friend. Letters help with loneliness. When the first letters arrive from home, Eilish feels devastated by loneliness and isolation in the big city. They tell her that Rose and her mother talk about her every evening, and that even if her letters were 200 pages, they would not be long enough for your mother. In an important scene which shows the devastating loneliness she is experiencing, we see Eilish lying on her bed with the letters beside her as she cries her heart out. Doing a course can decrease loneliness. When Eilish becomes emotional at Bartocci's, her supervisor sends for kind Father Flood. Father Flood tells her that he has enrolled her in night school at Brooklyn College to study bookkeeping. He wants to help her by making sure she has things to do. He tells her that they need Irish girls in Brooklyn. Eilish responds by saying, "I wish that I could stop feeling that I want to be an Irish girl in Ireland." He promises her that loneliness will pass. It will pass. Homesickness is like most sickness, he tells her. It will make you feel wretched, then move on to somebody else. He enrolls her in night school where she studies to become a bookkeeper. This really helped her integrate and she was less lonely. Music from home can cause loneliness. To keep Eilish active and involved, Father Flood invites her to help out at an event in the parish hall. She helps serve Christmas dinner in the hall to old Irish men who do not have anywhere else to go. This is a further example of the director finding ways to develop the theme of loneliness in the film. There is a very important scene when a singer is asked to sing an old Irish song after the meal. As Eilish and the others listen, the eyes of the old men fill with tears as they remember their homeland far away. Their sense of loneliness and isolation is highlighted by the fact that many of the old men get drunk and fall asleep. A relationship can help with loneliness. Eilish eventually begins to settle, and when she meets Tony, an Italian-American plumber, at the parish Saturday night dance, her life becomes much more pleasant. Eilish starts to enjoy herself. Her supervisor at Bartocci's tells her she's like a different person. She grows closer to Tony. She is introduced to his family and they go to a baseball game and spend a day out on Coney Island. Father Flood is impressed and praises her highly. Qualifications and a boyfriend, Eilish. You are not the miserable young girl who wanted to go home last winter, he said. Grief causes loneliness. Her life in Brooklyn appears to be going very well when Father Flood arrives at Bartocci's with the terrible news that Rose has died. Eilish's feeling of isolation comes back. When will they bury her, she asks Father Flood. Tomorrow, he replies. Without me, she asks. You're too far away, Eilish, he tells her. Why did I ever come here, Eilish wonders. The telephone conversation with her mother breaks Eilish's heart. Her mother tells her that everyone is gone, Eilish. I have nobody. Once more, the theme of loneliness emerges in the film. Missing your loved one can cause loneliness. When Eilish returned to Ireland, Tony starts worrying back in Brooklyn. He is afraid that Eilish will stay in Ireland. He's experiencing loneliness and is anxious because Eilish has only written to him once and appears to be ignoring his letters to her. Jim Farrell is devastated by Eilish's decision to return to Brooklyn. We see him standing in his hallway reading the letter from Eilish that explains the situation. Mothers being apart from children causes loneliness. Eilish tells the news to her heartbroken mother that she is married in America. She wants to be with her husband and that she is leaving on the early train the following morning. Her mother tells Eilish that she will say goodbye now and only once. Her mother then retires to her bedroom to grieve. She will now be left alone in Ireland, as it is assumed that she will not see Eilish again. Her final years will be lonely.